All right, we got to start off with the biggest news of really this entire offseason. The Athletic senior NFL insider, Dianna Russini, once again with us here on Scoop City. And Dianna, this broke in the dead of night. John Harbaugh, after an unbelievable meeting a lot of people are describing in New York, is going to be the next head coach for the New York Football Giants. What transpired during that what could we call it, that onslaught from New York Giants to make sure that this happened?
Don't let him go. They were hanging on to his ankles at Teterboro.
Everybody was involved in this, it seems like.
Yeah, no. And there were 6 people specifically involved in this meeting that were representing the New York Giants. And it's obviously everybody that's part of ownership, along with Joe Schoen. Jackson Dart was also part of some of the meeting. He was there for just a few minutes meeting with John Harbaugh, having a little bit of a conversation, getting to know one another. But from everything I understand, John was really locked in and asking a lot of questions of the New York Giants. And I think everybody wants to know, what is it that the Giants sold them? What is it about New York? And I don't really think you have to peel it back that far, because John wanted the job. The New York Giants were on his list of teams that he wanted to work for, if anything. And obviously now it was number 1. And he can just do that based on how he organized the way he took these formal meetings. You know, on Sunday, he had lunch with Chris Mara, and they laid out a lot of the things that John wants. And that's where the work really was done. And then when he was able to meet with Joe Schoen in person and the rest of that crew, most of that was just getting to know one another, talking about some of the mistakes they've made in the past, and things that they want to do moving forward. And, the Tennessee Titans were expecting to be part of this. They were watching Twitter all night last night to see if they were going to have to get on that plane out of Nashville into Baltimore, where they were going to meet John Harbaugh at his house on Thursday afternoon. But that, of course, did not happen. And he gave them a call around 11:30 Eastern last night to inform them that he would not be meeting with the Tennessee Titans, because he was all in on the Giants. And there were a lot of things about the Giants that appealed to him. Starting from the things that we talk about on the show all the time, right? At the top, the ownership. He believes in them. He trusts them. Apparently, the relationship already is just off and running in terms of just how they see things. It's so important. You know, it's like a marriage, right? Like when the foundational things are all in line, everything else kind of just comes together. And so they're going to continue those conversations today. A contract is not official just yet, but there were some discussions of how that would look with John Harbaugh and those 6 Giants members. So his agent is involved now, and we're expected to see him be paid on a 5-year deal, and most likely the highest paid coach in football. If not, he's up there. He's probably a little bit back and forth with Andy Reid.
Okay. Andy Reid's up there. Sean Payton's up there in that group.
I'm glad we actually brought up. I said it. No. Andy Reid. Andy Reid was part of this, right? So John really leaned on Andy Reid during this process, even before Steve Bisciotti fired John Harbaugh. Jim had reached out to Andy to have some conversations about, should I step down if he wasn't going to get fired? What does next look like? One, Andy Reid has always been a really good friend to John Harbaugh over the years, but of course we all know what Andy did, which was of course leave Philadelphia despite a lot of success, and take his talents to Kansas City, where he had ultimate success and continues to. So, there's a lot of fun little connectors here over the last few weeks, and it's only been a few days, actually, when you think about it. It hasn't been weeks. But I can tell you from talking to the Giants about, half an hour before I hopped on here with you, they're on cloud 9. It's like talking to new people. They are so refreshed and excited about what's next.
Yeah, when I text people there's a lot of exclamation points. I'll just say that in response to text messages about the way things have gone down. Now, you mentioned the things that John liked about the organization, and those are kind of easy to spot. You mentioned the ownership. He's always had great ownership. He's always been a guy that like that kind of solid foundation, like you mentioned, has always been there. There's parts of this roster we know that are kind of there, and Jackson Dart plays a part of it. This young core plays a part of it. Alignment is such a big part of what John was looking for, to my understanding. But what are some things, if any, Dianna, that he might want to go, all right, we need to work on this, or in this building, I know coming in that together we need to fix blank. Are there some of those discussions that have already happened?
Yeah, they're already working on some of that stuff, but before we jump into some of those, I am interested in this, and I think you are too. Steve Bisciotti was not a very hands-on owner. He communicated a lot with Eric DaCosta, the general manager.
Quietly knows what's going on everywhere in the building.
Correct. He has eyes and ears in the building, but he's not physically in the building. You even heard him in his press conference talk about how he's run this team. The Mara family is in the building. They're there all the time, right? So that's a different concept. And I've spoken to coaches over the years about the difference between having an owner there every day and an owner that just gives you a call on Monday morning, over FaceTime to discuss the Sunday game. So I am curious to see how that will work. The Joe Schoen element in this, I think, is really important to magnify because there were candidates that were concerned about Joe Schoen that the Giants were interested in. This was not a nobody cared about Joe Schoen's storyline. That is not true. I know John Harbaugh entered this interview process with those concerns, and he did a lot of homework, and he made calls to Brian Daboll, and he made calls to people with connections to Joe Schoen who've known him for years, to just try to understand what he's about, and if John Harbaugh felt that he could work with this. And from my understanding, he signed off on it. Like he thinks it can work, and he enjoyed those conversations. Joe was calling him every single day since Bisciotti fired Harbaugh. Every day they talked on the phone.
Let's go.
And
it's a relentless individual.
And I give credit to Joe Schoen for that, because he knew he had to bring in this big fish, because what clears the mistakes, the reputation that Joe has carried over the last few years and a losing season better than being the GM that brought in a guy that could perhaps change the future of this organization. So press conference is expected to be next week. The deal will most likely probably get done today or tomorrow, maybe even through the weekend, depending on how that goes. But certainly a new day in the New York area.
Yeah, that's a really good point bringing up Joe, because that was the part that everybody was kind of looking at. We knew he was such a big part of this search, Dianna, right? You've brought it up here on this show repeatedly, his connection to ownership and his importance in this entire thing. I was kind of fascinated because there's been so many reports out there about what Joe had brought to the building, right? Kind of modernizing their scouting system, kind of modernizing some of the stuff that they do behind the scenes. And that is a big part of the way John Harbaugh operates. He wants everybody in their particular role to be innovative, to be pushing forward constantly, right? That's the way John operates. Hey, what are you doing to make us better today? That's like the consistent of John. And I think Joe's done some of those things in the eyes of the Giants. We'll see if they start working together, they consistently feel that way from John Harbaugh and how it works. How does this change the landscape for what's next? I know you and I have talked to a ton of people. It almost has the sense around the league that the next domino would be potentially Kevin Stefanski. Does that still have that feeling? Because there was also a lot of people that just said, if I'm betting, John Harbaugh's going to the Giants. So if that was all kind of the thought.
Everyone was operating like this, like it was always John Harbaugh and the Giants. Now, look, we've been doing this so long. Nothing's ever a guarantee. And it was hard to just be like, yeah, this is it, because we knew that they had a meet. And the smallest things could change the direction of where these meetings go. And they could have disagreed on important things and stuff that John was passionate about, but that's not the case here. So he's in New York. So where does that leave us, right? So you've got the Atlanta Falcons and the Tennessee Titans, who were on Harbaugh's radar. Those are the two other teams that were in play here. And I'd heard Atlanta yesterday morning had sort of been informed that it was probably not going to happen. They had no interview set up with him formally in person. They had spoke to him over the phone. So Tennessee met with Arthur Smith on Wednesday evening.
Familiar face.
They are, yes, former offensive coordinator. He was there during some of the good years over the last few years. His family is from Memphis. They live in, they're Tennessee people.
Pretty prominent family.
And I know ownership likes Arthur, like that's for sure.
Yeah.
And so Mike McCarthy will meet with the Titans on Saturday. Robert Saleh will also over Zoom with the Titans on Sunday. Niners play Saturday, right? So he'll do that Sunday. Saturday. And then I'm expecting this thing to get moving next week, James. I think that's when, I know the Titans are going to still have a second round of interviews, so that may take a little bit of time. But as we know in this league, once team starts, everyone gets kind of ants in their pants. Once they see a team make a hire like this, they want to get moving too. So,
of course,
next week should be pretty blockbuster.
Okay, I like that. There are the teams that we oftentimes don't bring up because we've been focused so much on John Harbaugh, and those three teams keep coming up, but there's still Cleveland, there's still Vegas, there's still Arizona. There's these other spots that are also bringing in people for interviews as well. But then there's the one up in Green Bay that we're just kind of, I think everybody in the NFL is just waiting for Matt LaFleur to put pen to paper. I think that's just kind of a, just keep one eye on what's happening here, because as good as Matt is, I kind of thought of this morning. Every contract plays a part in other contracts, right? And I know it's apples and oranges because John Harbaugh was a free agent. And we know in free agency, numbers are always higher. But when I looked at the numbers between John Harbaugh and Matt LaFleur from 2019, when Matt took the job in Green Bay, Matt's 76-40-1. John Harbaugh is 76-41. Their playoff records are 3-5 and 3-6. 3-6 for Matt LaFleur. There's a lot of comps there Matt could use to say, hey, man, we've been essentially similar lately over a pretty good stretch of time. Do you think a deal getting done with John changes the pacing or the negotiations that's going on up in Green Bay by any stretch?
Here's the problem. When John Harbaugh can sit across the New York Giants, who know what it's like to win a Super Bowl, he can say he's won a Super Bowl too.
Okay, right? He's 4-6 since he won that Super Bowl in 2012 in the postseason.
That is the beauty of that thing, right? Is it carries weight.
It's for a long time.
It's undefeated. Look, I think let's go back to Packers and Matt. I think it's pretty fair to say that they are in deep negotiations right now, trying to knock out a contract to keep him in Green Bay, which is, from what I can gather as of yesterday afternoon, all signs point to this getting done. Yeah. In terms of the value of it, I would expect Matt LaFleur to be more in that middle rank of coaches that just did deals, right? The most recent contract outside the newer ones, when we're talking extensions here, Kevin O'Connell comes to mind. Okay. As a name of a number that you'd probably be around that, what Kevin O'Connell got. Kevin signed a pretty long deal. I would expect Matt to probably sign a shorter one, but we'll see how it shakes out. But yeah, I think all signs point to that getting done. There can always be a snag, and
that's why I said I think everybody has kind of an eye.
You gotta always watch out because you don't know. But
exactly.
It felt really good talking to a lot of different people close to it yesterday that you weren't getting any like hold up, like, yeah. or even some back channeling from the Packers on coaches, because that would be pretty telling too. Yeah. So that's not happening. And meantime, by the way, the other one you didn't mention, because I was kind of internally thinking as you were saying it.
I know.
You're right. We have not focused on the Raiders that much. We have not focused on the Arizona Cardinals. We have not done much with the Browns. And the Steelers are late to the game, yes. Right? So they just started, and I did a show this morning, and they were like, "What are the Steelers looking for?" And I'm like, I think the Steelers are trying to figure out what the Steelers are looking for,
yeah,
right? Because this is all just happening, and so I also think it probably wouldn't hurt if they go with the formula that they just had. They did pretty well.
I think it worked. I think it worked really well. We know what that formula is essentially, right? We're going a little younger. We're going a leader of men. We're going oftentimes the defensive side of the ball. We'll see. They could break precedent. That's not locked in, but that's always kind of been what they're looking for. Art Rooney, actually the one running this entire one, a part of the one with Mike Tomlin, but now he's fully running this search. Dianna, you're the greatest. I see you on the phone already. Get back to the phones. You're the best.
Awesome.
And I will talk with you.
I'm sure I'll see you in an hour. Bye. Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.